they were independent, but they're really measuring the same component of potentially missing out. So nationalism is my country will no longer be leading the space race. Very important factor to some people. And business opportunities. Many people remember the internet boom. How cheap was Google stock when it was initially offered? How much is it worth now? $200 a share? So that's definitely an opportunity. Benefits back on Earth. I thought these were two different factors as well, but they're actually the same one. Environmentalism and improving the quality of life. So basically, it's the space program to help Earth. And that's what's really motivating it. So environmentalism, cleaning up the Earth, and then spin-off technology is what's motivating that. So how do these factors motivate? They actually motivate in different ways. Two of them, motivation through fear. Moving off the planet for survival and acting out both touch upon losing something. The species losing their life, or missing out on profit or competition of being number one. Associating with pleasure. Basically, people going into space because they think it'll be fun and enjoyable. And then space is seen as a means to attain other goals. So it's not an end in and of itself, but environmentalism is going to be achieved through improvement in space. All right. Just in case you were concerned about internal reliability, which is something you need to be, basically it's saying that each one of these items for each factor is consistently measuring the same thing. So that's good reliability. And then validity is another thing you have to be concerned about. Are you really measuring what you claim to measure? So what I did is with the Midwestern students, I gave them all these 3 questions. And they answered them on a 5-point scale of how likely you were to do these things. So invest in your own money in space industry, support government investment, so like your tax dollars at work, and desire to join a space advocacy group. And what we found out was all 4 of those factors correlated with each one of these. So clearly all factors are measuring interest in space. But I want to do a linear regression about if any of those factors specifically pertain to one of these issues. So with linear regression, we found out that the 4 factors together controlled for 25% of the variance in predicting investing your own money, which is incredible. I wish most of my research had such good results. Then we have individual predictor. Survival of mankind was specifically used in predicting investing in your personal money into space. Support for government investment accounted for 24% of the variance with all the 4 factors, but specific predictors were benefit back on Earth and then benefiting me going into space. That's where that was about. And then finally, joining an advocacy group, 31% of the variance was predicted by all 4 factors, which is clearly the best one. Clearly, the best predictor by far was people wanting to go directly into space themselves, and survival of mankind still was useful. And just to test this, how many of you would, if you were given the chance right now by NASA to go into space, you would take it? All right, so that's pretty good. So that's kind of interesting. Even in college students, they have the same ability to know that kind of stuff. So what's the overall trend? Basically, I like to think about space exploration as like golf. It's fun to play, but boring as hell to watch on TV. I have no idea who's able to pull it off. But definitely, people want to be involved. They want to go directly. They're tired of being, sitting back and observing other people do things. With Apollo, it was perfectly fine to watch someone else land on the moon. Today, people want to be landing on the moon themselves. That's clearly what that trend is going on. So what does this say if I wanted to extrapolate to current issues with space? Mind you, I'm extrapolating, but here's what I would say. Obama clearly his main goal is that in 25 years from now, we will encircle, go around Mars, not land on it, but just drive by and wave and then keep going. All right. Based on these findings, here's what I would say. People are not going to be supporting this for 2 reasons. 1, they're going to go themselves. So that's one thing. 2, it's not clear how man orbiting Mars will benefit people back on Earth. Undoubtedly, there will be some technological benefits, but the optics of it look bad. It doesn't look like we're going to get anything out of it. So they're probably not going to be very excited about that. So if they're not excited about that, what will send a thrill up someone's leg about space stuff? Two things I would predict. One, people being interested in ways to go personally into space. I believe Virgin Galactic is probably going to be successful for this reason. And you can already tell this. Virgin Galactic hasn't even proven the safety of their vehicles, and people are already lining up to go on it. That clearly shows there's a demand and suggests that they will get a return on their investment. Two, individuals will be interested in permanent settlement, not visitation. So plans like Mars Direct or variations of it will be interesting to people because this actually is accomplishing settlement moving off the planet. Okay. So future directions. I would say that government and private space industry clearly needs to increase the motivation for the general public to be interested in space settlement and exploration. To accomplish this, we need to test the effectiveness of interventions to increase interest in space. That's what we would need to do. And I clearly plan to keep researching in this area. In fact, I've already spoken with Mars Society's executive director, Lucinda Land, about administering this to the Mars Society to kind of look at, now that we've seen college students, what about people who are actually very enthusiastic about space to help further advance research. So there's a good chance you might be getting an email in a couple of months about this. And if you do, then by completing the Space Settlement Survey, you will actually be able to help advance and get closer to going to Mars through the social sciences. But in conclusion, to wrap this stuff up, the question remains, which path will the U.S. take when it comes to space settlement? Are we going to take that of China and abandon space settlement after having some initial success? Or are we going to be like Spain and enter the era of economic growth? That's the real question. And I will say that this question is not going to be answered by advances in technology. It's going to be a result of advances in research on the motivation to go to space. I really think that this is what needs to be done. We've already proven that we can get to Mars. Now it's a matter of just finding ways to motivate people to get to Mars. And I would say that through the social sciences, that's really what it's going to take. All right, well, thank you, and appreciate it. Sure. And if someone else, the next person wants to start loading their stuff up, that's fine. Yes.
Have you taken a look at the environmental movement?
I know things of biometrics. I know they've gone out of fashion because they weren't incredibly effective with relaxation techniques. But environmental? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said something else. Well, the environmental movement, I think, will be very interested in space settlement because...
No. The environmental movement, I believe, started roughly around 67 or 69.
Right.
About 4 years ago. The space movement started around that time too. And in my opinion, unfortunately, the environmental movement is more successful than the space movement. Yes. And I'm not sure why.
It would be better to
yeah, well, definitely. I would say that the main reason why they're incredibly successful is because they have more marketing. They have movies that are being presented. And if you
we've got a mouse.
did as many interventions as many educations, I bet you would get the same results. But they were clearly able to get into a political party, and as a result, they've gotten better results. Yes?
I highly encourage you to continue your studies, and we need more social science stuff. Did you look at like virtual presence on Mars or virtual presence on orbit being a motivating factor? Like if they want to experience space now, and if our virtual world becomes as good as our actual world, can't they just go to like a holodeck or a telepresence thing and experience that without actually going?
I would actually say, as far as telepresence goes, I think that that'll get people interested, but I don't think it's going to be enough to sustain it. Though one thing would be interesting is if you have a satellite going in deep space for a long period of time, and you could actually have someone else remote control look at the viewing or something like that, and you could control that, I think that would be something that would really motivate people because they would feel like they're there.
Or running a rover, maybe trying a rover on Mars.
Yeah, if you could do something like that, that would get people more excited because they would feel like they're actually contributing themselves. They're actually in the game as much as they can be. Yeah.
Can you send me a copy of the presentation?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I appreciate that.